Hey, I sure wouldn't mind getting some more of that Arcturian poontang. Remember that time? Yeah, Frost, but the one you had was a male. Doesn't matter when it's Arcturian, baby. Hello there, and despite my poor voiceover skills, welcome back to the channel. And to this episode on one of my just generically most awesome favorite science fiction franchises, Aliens. All things Alien, and this is a good year for Alien and Predator fans with Alien Earth TV series coming out, announced August 12th, I believe, as well as Predator Killer of Killers and Predator Badlands, both scheduled for release this year at some point. It's a good year to be an Alien and a Predator fan. Now, considering I typically do cover all things science fiction on this channel, and I have a particular love of background details and the unloved and the unsung, we're going to talk about not the xenomorph, because everyone talks about the xenomorph, not the facehugger, not the queens, the Praetorians, where their homeworld is, not the different predator clans or the predator elders or the bad bloods, but the Arcturians. Almost a throwaway line from the movie Aliens. We get the awareness that humanity has encountered another sentient species, at least one, by this point. Now, all information in this episode is mostly derived from Xenopedia and, of course, the movie Aliens, which pretty much, my quote, is all references to this species on screen. So it's up to you whether or not you consider comic books and video games to be canonical, which is where most of this information is collated from. But the Arcturians, in terms of physical appearance, have pale, near translucent skin. Basically, their skin's very, very light, and almost see-through, which is something I find kind of hard to visualize. It sounds kind of gross. There has been a lot of speculation that the Arcturians and the Engineers are maybe not one and the same species, but are very near related. Now, it's also speculated, of course, that Engineers, because of their physical appearance, are similar to humans, similar and related. It's plausible, then, due to certain religious beliefs that the Arcturians believing in sort of people from the sky coming to visit them, who were likely the Engineers based on artifacts that were left, that the Arcturians were created in a similar manner, possibly using the black goo, millions upon millions of years ago, by the Engineers, just like life on Earth was also manipulated by the black goo by the Engineers, which I don't subscribe to the theory that the Engineers created life on Earth. I think the black goo was used to alter it, to guide it. I don't think they created it. If for no other reason than the Engineers standing on Earth being able to breathe wouldn't have been a possibility. The colour of the sky and everything was wrong. You could chalk that up to, the makers of the movie not putting enough detail into what Earth likely looked like all those eons ago, but trust me, that was not what Earth looked like all those years ago. Yeah, I'm sure you could find a bit of the planet that wasn't particularly volcanic, but you couldn't find anywhere where the sky wasn't purple and the atmosphere wasn't sulfurous and full with carbon dioxide. It wasn't until we had life that oxygen actually proliferated so much. So you could maybe forgive the idea the Engineers could breathe a different atmosphere or have found a way to breathe another atmosphere, but no. But either way, they were also a humanoid species, going back to the Arcturians, who braided their hair and were noted for having gender fluidity. This is what is meant by it doesn't matter when it's Arcturian, baby. It's basically the difference, the sexual dimorphism between the males and the females, at least those two genders anyway, of the Arcturians, is so minor that it doesn't really matter. It's either possible that it's indicated that their species might be able to alter their gender depending on circumstance or age. It's also possible, as a bit of speculation here, that the Arcturians were both. That they were simply hermaphroditic or some other form of combination, where being male, being female really wasn't a thing and it's just how they identified it. It's also a possibility. The Arcturians were native to the planet Arcturus. Now, they were a technologically far less advanced civilization than humans, although they already had contact with aliens, but they weren't as technologically savvy as humans. So we were more the ones going to them, but by the time the Aliens movie was set, humans had contact with them for some time, and the Weyland-Yutani Company, as well as Earth in general, had embassies, outposts on their homeworld, including a few farms, and even employed some Arcturians in their forces. There was an open trade agreement between the two powers, and they were generally allies. The Arcturians not presenting a major threat to humanity in any way, mostly again because of their inferior technology. They were visually quite similar in appearance to humans, however, despite again the gender fluidity, near transparent skin. They were humanoid, and they sort of resembled us, and it was obvious that there was a certain amount of sexual compatibility between the two species, due to the fact that Private Frost had mentioned sleeping with Arcturians on a previous assignment, with again then Spunkmeyer, great name by the way, pointing out to Frost that his was male, and again he responded with, it doesn't matter when it's an Arcturian, baby. Again, despite the fact that there was gender fluidity, or possibly they simply were some form of intersex, it didn't really matter. You couldn't tell whether they were male or female from the general human gaze. It's also equally possible, just putting this out there, that Frost simply didn't care, and what he found attractive, he found attractive. Just saying. It might not have mattered to him whether the Arcturian was male or female. So that's actually pretty much it. There is some non-canon information, which would again pretty much come from video games, where it indicates that they are comparable in size to humans. Again, they are bipedal, and are generally considered less intelligent than humans, although that could be a human perspective, the human gaze. But general observations of their biology is that they are warm-blooded, omnivorous, they breathe the same sort of atmosphere as humans, obviously, and they have large eyes. Although some sources actually indicate that they are eyeless. So there we go, different points of view on the Arcturians. But this is only a quick video. I like to cover the background species. A little bit of an interjection before I carry on here from when I was editing this. I am going to keep referring to Hishkuten as an alien species. They are, but it is actually the original name of the predators. The race I actually mean are the Amengi, who conquered them and those things. It's complicated predator lore. Different names, so many different variations. My apologies. I'm just going to keep calling them the Hishkuten, and that is actually the apparent original name of the Yautja in some of the lore, in some of the beta canon lore. So apologies, it's my bad, just before anyone notices. A bit like I am, like in the Predator universe, you've also got the Hishkuten as a little bit of a point of reference. They are introduced in the lore in the comic books as the race that originally actually conquered the Yautja, which is the comic book name for the Predators, although that may not actually be their true name anyway. And the Yautja ancestors were conquered, enslaved, and forced to become gladiatorial fighters and other such things for the entertainment of the Hishkuten. The Hishkuten, in their physical appearance, resemble the original design for the Predator used in the movie, with a sort of more insectoid-like appearance. Eventually the Predators rose up against them, because in order to make the Predators more interesting sport for them to hunt and for them to watch in gladiatorial combat, they genetically manipulated the Predators, introducing this concept of genetic manipulation and enhancement into Predator culture that has been expanded upon in the movies, whether you like that concept or not, although I personally think that the Predators that do that are probably bad bloods. But if you follow comic book lore, this is something that was introduced into Predator culture by the Hishkuten. I am getting a little off topic here, but you get what I mean. There are background species that are mentioned, referenced, or in otherwise in the lore, but we don't see or hear very much of them. The Hishkuten, incidentally, were defeated by the Predators, actually enslaved by them, and then were used as prey themselves, of course, because they're predators. But what do you guys think of the Arcturians? Baby, I gotta stop doing that. Let me know your thoughts on them in the comment section down below. And if you have any suggestions for any more videos you'd like me to cover on this channel, again, despite the fact that this channel is mostly Star Trek, I am more than willing to cover other science fiction franchises. And do. So leave your comments in the comment section down below. And with that said, if you made it out in the video, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.